Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to Symbols and Saints. Today I'm going to take you through the vesting prayers in particular for each of the vestments that the priest wears at Mass. But before I do that, I just wanted to mention this before I forget, that there have been some exciting developments regarding the fish and the book, the symbol that I saw down at St. Patrick's. And so in an upcoming video, I will explain the significance of that symbol. Some people have sent in different guesses about what it means, and almost every single one of them has been off, as I was. We've all just shot in the dark and we have fallen flat on our faces. But one member of the research team found the key, so when I get back to St. Patrick's at some point, I will share that with you. So stay tuned for that. Alright, so to begin vesting, the first garment that the priest wears is the amice. So the amice is this broad rectangular piece of cloth that the priest puts around his neck like so. It has these two strings, so you can loop it behind and tie in front to keep it in place. And then it's tucked in around his clerics. The regular clothes are called the clerics, so they're tucked into the clerics. And the prayer that is said when the priest puts this on is Impone Domine capiti meo galliam salutis ad expudandus diabolicos in cursus. So we'll get the translation of that. It is, place upon me, O Lord, the helmet of salvation, that I may overcome the assaults of the devil. So the same source from the Vatican website says this. With the reference to St. Paul's letter to the Ephesians, the amice is understood as, quote, the helmet of salvation that must protect him who wears it from the demon's temptations, especially evil thoughts and desires, during the liturgy. So the prayer and the understanding connects the amice with a helmet against the attacks of the devil. And it's neat, actually. I saw a Dominican putting on his amice once, and he kind of draped it over his head before putting it on before actually putting it on. And so the symbolism was more connected, that the amice was this covering for the head first and foremost. So pretty neat. Okay. Then comes the alb, which is the long white garment that the priest wears. So it goes on like so. And the alb has a beautiful prayer that goes along with it, which, I usually say them in Latin, so I don't know them in English. So I need to look it up. So the prayer is, make me white, O Lord, and cleanse my heart, that being made white in the blood of the Lamb, I may deserve an eternal reward. So it references Revelation 7 that talks about the martyrs, I believe, or maybe all the saints, being made white in the blood of the Lamb. It talks about their garments being washed and made white in the blood of the Lamb. So just a striking, very vivid image from the book of Revelation is part of the symbolism of the alb. So this is what the Vatican website says. The alb is therefore a symbol of the sanctifying grace received in the first sacrament, the sacrament of baptism, and is also considered to be a symbol of the purity of heart that is necessary to enter into the joy of the eternal vision of God in heaven. So that symbol of purity received through baptism, and of course that we should all aspire to. Next, the priest puts on the cincture. So this is called the cincture, or belt. I mean, it's always called the cincture, but the meaning is a belt. And the prayer, Praecinge me Domine cingulo puritatis, ad extingui in lumbis meis humorem libidinis, ut maniat in me virtus continentiae et castitatis. So there you have it. There's a couple knots that they teach you in seminary to make that work. So here's the prayer. Gird me, O Lord, with the cincture of purity, and quench in my heart the fire of concupiscence, that the virtue of continence and chastity may abide in me. So here's some of the symbolism. For deacons, priests, and bishops, the cincture, may be of different colors. Yes, okay. In the symbolism of the liturgical vestments, the cincture represents the virtue of self-mastery, which St. Paul also counts among the fruits of the Spirit. So there it is, which is, I kind of like that's the belt, the self-mastery, because there's that expression that people use, what is it now? When the going gets tough, you have to tighten your belt and go after it. It's kind of, there seems to be some connection with kind of the belt and being prepared for battle. Okay, next is the stole. So just the long strip here that the priest places over his head, and then slips through the cincture, and it can be tightened up like so. Okay, so the stole, let's see. Here it is. The stole is the distinctive element of the garment of the ordained minister, and is always worn in the celebration of the sacraments and sacramentals. It is a strip of material embroidered according to the norm, whose color varies with respect to the liturgical season or feast day. So usually the stole and the chasuble will come in a set, and they'll be made of the same material and the same color. The prayer for the stole is, Lord, restore the stole of immortality, which I lost through the collusion of our first parents. And unworthy as I am to approach thy sacred mysteries, may I yet gain eternal joy. And then finally, we have the chasuble, which is the garment specific to celebrating Mass. So, for those of you who have come to adoration of the Blessed Sacrament, you may have noticed, although the garments look somewhat similar, you may have noticed that the priest doesn't wear a chasuble. He wears what's called a cope, which is open in the middle. It's more of a cape, really, that comes over. Whereas the chasuble is closed all the way around. So the chasuble is only used for Mass, whereas the cope is used for adoration or some other occasions as well. So the chasuble goes on over everything. So the chasuble represents charity, hearkening to the line of St. Paul, over all these things, put on charity or put on the love of God. So kind of summarizing that charity takes together all the virtues and perfects them all. And the prayer is, O Lord, who has said, my yoke is sweet and my burden light, grant that I may so carry it as to merit thy grace. So there you have it. Each of the liturgical garments has their special symbolism and their prayer that helps the minister prepare for the liturgical action that he's about to perform. So, and in closing, I'll just note that one of the points that the Vatican website made was that when the priest is completely vested, he's kind of hidden, even most especially with the amice. It covers even his priestly uniform, because the priestly uniform is for his everyday stuff. He's always wearing that. Whereas the liturgical vestments are preparing him for the heavenly liturgy. So if you remember, in a previous video, we talked about the church as the gate of heaven. Well, so too, the priest, as he goes into the liturgy, is going into the heavenly space. So he covers all the earthly things about him, and covers himself in these heavenly things to prepare for the heavenly ministry. So I hope next time you come to Mass, hopefully sooner rather than later, and see the priest vested in these heavenly garments, you'll be reminded that entering into the liturgy is an entrance into heaven.